Welcome to Transform Podcast. My name is Luz Ramirez.
And I'm Anne McNamara, and together Luz and I have created this podcast. We are fascinated by the transformation journey, particularly in the context of real estate. We take houses, some in pre-foreclosure, most of them not in a very good state, and we turn them into homes for people who are co-living in these environments, people that are coming from places of transition. So we're fascinated by this whole concept of transformation.
Today we have our first guest, Jamil Damji.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Happy to be here. Thanks for the invitation. This is awesome.
First off, we'd like to share a little bit about how we've met you.
Yeah.
So we are members of Owners Club. It is an absolutely amazing community that you and Pace put together. So thank you so much for that. We were able to meet actually in Owners Club as well. And so that's how our journey started. We connected. We've been watching each other from the sidelines and saying, I like the way she works. I like the way that she operates. I like the way that she thinks. And we came together. She approached me and we started from there. And so that's led us to the point of working on transformation. And as she mentioned, we are working with underserved populations who are transitioning in life. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons that we wanted to talk to you is that I feel that you have been great in helping me transform. I've struggled, I've been great at the things that I do, but I've always come from a W-2 mentality.
Sure.
So everything I've operated from is, this is what I do, this is how I work, but now as an entrepreneur, I struggled with that. And I came to you and I said, yeah, so now I am trying to figure out what I can do in this world as an entrepreneur. I know I can do stuff. I just don't know how to do it. Mm-hmm. And you told me, well, your problem is self-worth. And we had a one-on-one where we were able to talk about that. And that was it. You helped me work on discovering my worth and digging deeper. And so that's been a journey for me. So thank you for that.
Of course.
But that is how we met. We did that one-on-one. And then after that, we did an active income Zoom. And since then, we do a weekly check-in. I send you messages, let you know how things are going. And you send me these wonderful messages letting me know that you're on the right track, you're in alignment. And so that for me has been extremely
Sometimes I got to say, hey, snap out of it, you know?
Yeah. And sometimes I'm just like, yeah, it hasn't been a great week, but I'm still trying. And you're like, no, you're doing great. So that's amazing. And?
Well, I was really attracted to Jamil, sorry, because every time you've told a story that's impacted on me, it's about being kind of radical transformation that you've gone through. So you just tell your story, if you don't mind, in the context of those, because I've heard of at least 2 big shifts.
Yeah.
And you were like, there might be more.
Oh, there's lots. So if I'm, gonna trace it all back, but the reality is we're never meant to be static. We're never meant to be one version of ourselves. And if we find ourselves trapped, think about this, right? Do you know anyone who's just like they were in high school?
Wow. Yeah.
You've worked some people.
Yeah, great.
And you may not be friends with them or like check in or like have them in your life right now, but you know who I'm talking about. There's those people. And the reality is that's like 90% of our population is stuck in some version of themselves that they are attached to because it's safe.
Yeah.
Now, with that, safety is an interesting concept, right? Because it could be safety egoically, it could be safety financially, it could be safety relationship-wise, but whatever it is, it's giving them a sense of safety, and that safety is a survival mechanism, and it's keeping them in that spot, and they have to diminish themselves, lie to themselves, kill their dreams, stay away from other potentials that they could blow their entire life into a brand new stratosphere, and they'll lose all of that. They'll walk right by it in keeping with safety, in keeping in that smaller version of themselves, right? And so for me, that happened early because I grew up in an area where we weren't wanted, right? And so I was always the outsider, and that in and of itself was an interesting idea for me, because when you are an outsider and you want to fit in, you start to learn how to people please. You start to learn how to pander to this and be like that and assimilate over here and pretend here and pretend like this. And so you muddy who you become in record time. You lose your authenticity, you lose your who you are, who you truly are, in in exchange for these weirdos' approval, right? And what's really sad about that is that those people that I was pandering to at that time are nowhere near my life, but the habit that I picked up in pandering to them stuck. So how crappy is that? And we do that. We condition ourselves through relationships, through life experiences, through different traumas. Then we condition ourselves and we create these survival mechanisms, these patterns of behavior that make us, again, this version of ourselves that's not authentic, that's not who we are, but we do it because we're trying to survive. And I learned that most of the negative things we do, whether it be addiction, dishonesty, whatever it is, right? They're typically born from a positive protection mechanism. We're really just trying to keep ourselves alive. We're trying to keep ourselves from feeling like we're being torn apart and put down, right?
Did you have a moment? Was it a transformational moment, or was it more of the gradual awareness?
Well,
that people pleasing.
Yeah.
See, you're out of that people pleasing.
No. I'm aware of it, and so I'll answer that, but I'll do it in a couple of stages. So there was a moment. And I haven't spoken of this before. So here's a new tidbit that your first episode will get that I've never even spoken of on my own podcast or in any other video before because it hasn't come up. But you asked the question, so you get it. In my early 20s, there was a version of me. And this version was, I like to call him the plastic me. Okay? The plastic me wanted so badly to fit in, so badly to be, a part of the cool crew, to have people like him, girls like him, the guys like him, that I developed some pretty nasty habits. One of them being just like lying all the time, inventing, exaggerating, being just this not me version. So much so that I used to wear blue contact lenses.
Oh, to me.
Yeah, I used to wear blue contact lenses because I hated being Indian. I hated being myself. I hated everything about me because I had been taught and told that what I wasn't enough, that what I wasn't acceptable. And so then I had to invent a new me. I had to invent a new version, and that version had to be more white. It had to have blue eyes. It had to be like this. It needed to have these things. And so I created this false Jamil. And I lived that man, or that boy, let's call him, for a few years. And I'll never forget the 3 days where it all fell apart. And some might call this a psychotic break. I think it was a spiritual awakening. But I had that moment where I cracked. Everything cracked. And for 3 days I heard a voice. And the voice wasn't a malevolent voice. It was a loving voice. But what it did is it was alerting me to all of the fictions that I had created in my world. All of them. And it lasted 3 days. I, honest to goodness, thought I was losing my mind. I actually, my parents took me to a mental hospital. And they checked me in for a 30-day assessment.
How old were you at this?
I was 19, 20.
Isn't that amazing that your own wisdom emerged to you to have that conversation with yourself? Those were the voices in your head, that you had that wisdom, yet you had that overlay of all this people-pleasing stuff. Was that powerful enough to maintain for long, or did you find yourself going backward?
Well, you'd always go back a little bit, right? But now once you learn the truth, once you see something, you can't unsee it, right? And the voice never came back, so I'm not schizophrenic. If anyone who's like watching this or not, like, I think the guy might need some Dorothy. So I'm not schizophrenic for sure. But I might have been. I might have thought I was, because at that time I was really worried about it, because it's not normal to hear a voice that's not you, right?
Plum.
And then it's not like I was like addicted to drugs and doing things that would have caused that. You know, I wasn't like tripping on acid or anything like that, or eating mushrooms every day. Nothing. I was sober, and that happened. And I remember coming, you know, after the first day when it started, I was in tears because all of my lies were being presented to me, all my fictions, all of my fake. It in 3 days dismantled plastic Jamil. And then I was raw. Like raw. And that version of me that was left, I didn't even know him.
So what did you do at that point when you had to let go of this classic Jamil, and now you're just sitting there thinking, what next?
Well, it was at that point, it's like, right, what's next? And then I had to figure it out. Like, who am I? If I'm not that, what am I? Who am I? And the journey began. And so at first I had to almost get purified in the fire before I could emerge the phoenix. And I think that is, and lots of people who have awakenings find them in really desperate, delicate places like that. And I guess the same thing happened to me. It was an interesting thing, but at the time it was so scary. I remember coming home after the first day while it was happening, and I was in tears, and my mom is sitting in the living room. She was peeling garlic cloves, because I'll remember, because her fingers stunk. And I came in and I was bawling my eyes out, and I'm a 20-year-old man, right? And I just went and I laid my head down in her lap and I started crying like a baby, because I was just so, I didn't know who I was. I believed my bullshit. I had told the lie so many times that I thought that was me. I even had a reason why I had blue eyes.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, that's how deep it got with me in the like mind fucking I was giving myself. So it was really interesting. And that was the catalyst. That's where it all started.
So at that point, did you go back and dig deep and say, okay, I remember who I was, or no? You never feel like you had a persona before?
I just didn't. No, I didn't want. What was there to go back and learn? All that had happened to me were traumatic things, right? It was so much trauma. It was so many beatings. It was so much violence. It was terrible, terrible. I had a wonderful family. I had wonderful parents. I was never abused by my parents. I wasn't abused by anybody that was in charge of caring for me. They loved me. They did their best. They were also poor, and they had to work. My dad worked 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. My mother had to work 8 to 10 hours a day too. And so it was just my sister and I. We were latchkey kids. We had only each other, and otherwise it was us against the world. So I didn't have a version. Mom and dad hadn't rooted in me a valuable child, and it's something I learned with my own daughter, to really pay attention to what she thinks of herself and who she knows she is, and that the inherent value of her, regardless of accomplishment, regardless of grades, regardless of how she looks, regardless of even how she behaves, that she's inherently valuable regardless of anything, no matter what I even think. She is so valuable. She's God's kid, and that wasn't really given to me. I had to experience it. I had to experience the connection to our Creator. I had to experience that I'm connected to our source and everything else. And in that understanding and in that realization, a version of me has emerged.
Wow. Well, that makes me really sad.
Nothing to be sad about. I'm really grateful for it. I'm truly great. My childhood bully, his name is Shane Baum, currently incarcerated for life in prison for torture and murder.
Oh, wow.
And that was my childhood bully. And so he didn't stop. But where is he today? right? And he reached out to me before he went to prison and apologized for his behavior. He obviously didn't change because, a couple of weeks after he sent the Facebook message, he was arrested and put away for life. So that's also a thing, but I don't think that there's anything to be sad about. I'm not sad about it. I even can.
I think what makes me sad is, as you're talking, I'm thinking of people I know, like the heavy-duty people pleasers that I know, and I think, and they're still this age, and I think they haven't had that transformation, and they're still dealing with this. And you're talking about plastic Jamil. I'm like, exactly. Thank God you did have it. And there's so many people who don't ever address that. They stay with people pleasing, and it's so dangerous. It's not just dangerous to them. It's the fiction, the aura of their fakeness. I think grows as you get older. And then personally, I'm a little repelled because I don't feel I have the skills to handle it. I'm going to do more damage because they're exuding damage. And I imagine whatever happens in your life, you would have found the strength to address that. But I'm glad you did, because I don't know where you end up.
Well, it goes to your earlier point that you said 90% of people stay in that, that same life that they've always lived, or they peaked in high school, or they peaked at a certain age, and then that's it.
And they just go back to that.
Living.
I know, they just go back to that well. And there's an episode of South Park that I love so much, and they have these little purple berries. They call them member berries. And it's like, those people that's like, remember when? Yes. Oh, remember when we were cool in high school? Remember? And so, like, they have these little cute little cartoon member berries, and they're talking about all the people who are just constantly sitting there eating and living their member berries.
Yes.
Right? And that's a real thing. So many people are living in their remember when?
I think what I love about this community, and it's so validating and it's so necessary, is society teaches you high school, college, start a job, get married, child one, next job, take some time off for good. This is where you should be, and your partner should have this trajectory, and there you go, and 401k should be at this stage, at this level. And if you don't fit that, then you're
Not normal. You're not normal, which we don't. Not to be normal in that case.
And I go from Jamal, well, I never had a W2, always started running businesses, but I've had this thing that, why don't make life so hard? It's a non-going theme in my world. I don't think I'll make life, why don't we just follow the path that has been very nicely won? Because you make your life really hard. And I think that, what comes from that really benefits society? What comes from that does any of the major transformation? Being where we are now, I was thinking the other day, I'm so far away from my Uber expertise, because I get to a next place of expertise and I go, I'm done. I need to start. So I think it's about a drive to humility, a drive to learn more, a drive to open myself to new experiences. But I keep forgetting how scary it is. I think that's why we're fascinated by transformation, because people won't skip over the cost of transformation, because it's a scary place that you have to go to deal with, and you have the risk of not making it work to your ego. It's so high. So yeah, I think you've handled transformation almost better than anybody I've observed, because
Well, you haven't seen some of the messy parts.
yes,
And there were messy parts, right? There were definitely, I didn't get to skip addiction. I definitely fell into that for a while, numbed myself. I had relationships that were unhealthy around me. I then found, even though I stopped with the fiction, I started still, I didn't have a map. There was no roadmap. Even though I had the crack, the awakening happened. An awakening isn't like, hey, you're awake to there's more. Also, here's the steps that you're going to go through, and it's going to kind of feel like this, and it's going to go this way, and then this is going to happen. It's going to get really good, so don't worry about it. Nobody tells you anything. You're just there, and you're in it, right? And you have that dark night of the soul, and you go through those moments where it's so flipping hard and scary. You're like, I'm not gonna survive this. I'm gonna perish in this, you know. And I might have. There were nights, you know. There was a night I was so low, I downed a bottle of Percocets with a bottle of Jack, and I wrote a note.
What was going on at that point?
I had just, we were losing everything.
2008.
Yeah, we were losing it all. I had bankrupted the whole family. It was terrible, and you know.
I remember having a conversation with you at one dinner, and it was talking about that time in your life after 2008. And you mentioned how now you would never go back to taking on that level of responsibility because you were carrying such a heavy load, and you still had to carry up responsibility based on what happened back then. How have you been able to move past that, or kind of make an operation with yourself on, you know what, that's not worrying anymore. I know that was a situation that you couldn't control, but you fell into it. But there were other people that did get hurt.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I had been in real estate deals that went south, and when you're the real estate guy and there's people who are getting into deals with you, they trust you, they're expecting you to get it right. And when the market shifts and changes, and whether there was no way to get it right because the dean decides that all tests are wrong. And that's basically what happened to society at that point, right? Like nobody got to bet, right? Other than like the Big Short guys. But other than that, we all bet wrong. We all got it wrong. And so we were all going down. We were all suffering. We were all going through it. The thing is I didn't have enough grace. I didn't have enough compassion for myself at the time to know that this was life, and that the people who had gotten into the deals with me were also adults. And when you're making an investment, you got to understand that investments have risk, you know? I just wasn't a sophisticated enough operator to have explained that well to the folks that I was doing business with. And I was so lucky in doing so well prior that I didn't think that I could ever lose. And so I didn't even feel that that was a necessary thing for me to disclose. I was really immature. I was super naive and very green to the entire thing. And that's sad. That sucks, right? But it also made me really, really conservative and that's one of the beautiful things about my relationship with Pace, is that we're opposite ends of the spectrum, right? He loves leverage. He loves to take risk. He is incredibly gifted at managing his emotions and managing risk and understanding how to de-risk and still leverage. And he's a genius at it. I don't have that type of mind, and I don't have that emotional capacity to weather that. Again, I don't think either, and so I'm conservative. And so we have these yin and yang characteristics, which I think have served our friendship beautifully, because he can have one perspective, and then I'll share an opposing one, and that's not going to create tension and strife between us. It's just options. Right? It's just options. It's like, hey, you know, guys, you can go here's mint chocolate chip and here's rum raisin. What do you want? Yeah. You know? And so that's how we operate. And at the time, to get back to your question, when I now look at it and I realize that yes, people got into deals with me and those people were affected negatively, and that's sad. It sucks. And I did everything I could post. I think I was like $1.8 million in debt once it was all said and done. After all the assets were taken, the $12 million in cash had been taken, the cars had been taken, the homes had been taken. We were still $1.8 million in debt. I paid that debt off. I didn't run, you know? And so that I still took care of the responsibility. It took time, but I still took care of the responsibility. There are just people who will never accept that was enough, you know, that you did your best, and yeah, people got hurt, and I got hurt too. I lost it all, you know, and it is what it is, right? And so to anyone who may have been in that situation with me, I apologize. It sucked, but I learned, and that has made me a much better investor. And the next rodeo, my next rise, and how I've operated, and the level of integrity and disclosure and the things, and that's why I mean, You know, I'm not one of the guys who takes a lot of capital from people. I don't do that. It's not my thing. I have nothing against private capital. I have nothing against raising capital. I think it's the smartest thing that you can do when you do it correctly. I think it gives you lots of opportunity. I think it gives you lots of capacity to get out into more business, more deals, scale better. It's all that is wonderful. It's not for me.
Where do you get your capital from?
I'm self-funded. I make my money. I wholesale deals. I make assignment fees, and I save my cash. And I go. And so, I don't go as far. And I know that. I know that I'm not going to get as far. I know that I'm not going to have as much. I know that I'm not going to make as much. I know that I am not going to get that far ahead in terms financially because I'm playing smaller. But I choose to play smaller. I choose to play smaller because I like sleeping at night.
There's the antithesis of plastic Jamil. Guy really knows himself and goes, this is who I am. I don't care what other things. And you're in such proximity to Pace, who's the antithesis of the approach. Yeah, that's very wise.
And the thing is that I don't need to compare and compete in a way that makes me feel uncomfortable being myself. I never get shamed from Pace because I am the way I am. I'm encouraged because the proximity to the contrast is an important thing for people to see.
Yeah.
Right? Pace doesn't want another Pace beside him. Yeah. What would that do? Because if he just had another mini Pace beside him, then they would just both be there squawking out the same thing, right? No one wants to hear that, right? But you do want to hear well, hey, what's the other perspective, or what's another perspective? And so that's the beauty of the dynamic that exists between the two of us, because it is so polar, but it works so freaking well. It's really, really beautiful.
And that's why I asked the question, because I walked away from that dinner that night going, wow, they are absolutely polar opposites. In the way that you think and process and the risk that you're willing to take and the way he operates. Wow. And then I understand your relationship even more after that, because that's exactly it. What he has, you choose not to pursue. And
he does the same thing. The things that I do, he chooses not to pursue because it's not his thing, right? And so we dance our dance, and we do so well as ourselves that we just enjoy watching the other do his thing. He sent me a text the other night, and it made me cry, because he has watched over the last few years some of the things I've gone through, right? I went through a separation from a 15-year relationship that was very dear to me and is still very dear to me. I'm very close to my ex. We're tremendously close friends, and I'll always have a lot of love and respect and admiration for the woman she is and our relationship. And it was hard for that to end. Aside of that, I've made changes in my business. I'm in different business models. I'm moving the position that I'm taking in the world in terms of what I educate on and what I'm bringing is a little different than it was 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I was talking about assignment fees and wholesale deals and how to, comp houses, and just very, very, because that was my day-to-day life. My day-to-day life was that, right? That's not my day-to-day life anymore. And if I keep talking about things that I'm not doing day-to-day, then it's not really authentic, is it? Now, it's not that I don't still earn from those businesses, and I'm not that I'm not doing those businesses, I am, but they don't make my identity. And so for me, now moving into who I am, what I am, and what's important, and the things that I'm finding interest in, that has starting to emerge, and he's watching that unfold, and he's watching me make these pivots, and he's watching me move away from things that are no longer working and move towards things that are not proven and may or may not work, and he's watching me do them and watching me navigate a new relationship with a woman that I think is very, very good for me, and maybe someone that I might spend more time with or start a family with. And that's an awesome thing for him to watch happen. And so he sends this message to me just saying, I've watched for the last 2 years everything you're going through and everything that you're doing, and I still see you show up consistently and with a level of excellence that few can through all of it. And I just want to tell you, keep going, because I'm enjoying the show.
It's real mental resilience.
Yeah. And it was a real beautiful thing for a friend to say it, share with a friend, because it meant so much to me to be seen like that, you know, and men don't do that for each other.
No, they don't.
A lot. We don't share tender moments. We don't tell each other we see them. We think that that's gay. Or, and forgive me if that bothered you for saying that, but like, you know, we're like, oh, that's not manly, or that's this, or that's that, or whatever. But it's not. It's the farthest thing from not manly. It's very manly to see your friend. It's very manly to share with your friend how you feel and what you think and the things that you're seeing them and watching them and supporting them and loving them and being there and warring beside them. It's very manly to be that.
I'm validating them. Like, I see what you're doing. I see that you're showing up every day and all the effort that you're putting through, and it's seen.
Yeah.
That's more hurtful.
Your initial getting together with Pace, I thought was really fascinating because, in theory, you were both home centers, you're both from the same market, or you're both in Phoenix. I know you were both doing other things around the edge, but that must have been a very odd thing to do, very unnormal thing to do. Got two competitors collaborating so strongly. Why do you, like, just tell us how it started and why did you were able to pull that relationship off that many people would have just said, no, enemy territory?
It's great. And I actually have a moment that I can share with you that I think defines it. But it, it started off with a simple DM, right? Pace was going through some things. You know, some people know the story, but he was in a business relationship that was a pretty toxic one that I had escaped myself. And, I'd watched this person that he had been doing business with just really, really do some terrible things for quite a long time. And Pace sends me a DM on Instagram asking for advice, and I obviously had advice to give him because I was pretty well versed in what this man was doing. And we spoke, I gave him the advice I thought he needed. He didn't take it, and comes to find out that I was right about it, right? But that wasn't what really bonded us together. It was how we pulled out of that together without judgment, without any shame, without any, I told yous or any of this or that. It was just like, okay, well, let's carry on. What do we got to do to get you to the next spot? And, he was like that guy who just kept showing up. He kept, like, I'm a guy who always shows up, and there's another guy who just keeps showing up. And so he starts adding a ton of value to my life. He's the kind of man who leads with value, right? So I remember he was introducing me to these Homevester colleagues of his. They're the We Buy Ugly House franchises. He was once a franchise. And he was introducing them to me, and I was doing deals with them, and I was wondering, why is he doing that? Like, these are deals he could be doing. Why throw me in the mix? What's the purpose, right? But of course, I'm not going to stop him. I'm making money on these things, right? So, like, why am I going to be like, why are you doing that, dummy? Like, you should keep these deals. Like, why are you sending them my way? And he was still sending them my way. So, of course, I'm going to, oblige. And I remember one day I reached out to someone that I normally do deals with, and they said, oh, yeah, sorry, no, I'm like, I haven't heard from you in a long time. Like, what's going on? You got anything I can look at? Yeah, no, I'm good, man. I don't have anything right now. I'm like, you haven't done any business in the last, 4 months? He's like, no, I saw all my deals to Pace. And I was like, motherfucker. So when I lost that deal and I learned that Pace is selling his deals, this person is selling their deals to Pace, it's like I then got to feel the sting of, I lost business to this relationship, right? Meanwhile, Pace had been handing me deals. Like, he had lost dozens of them up to that point, maybe even 100 up to that point. But that was the first one I lost, right? And I'm like, and then I was driving down Scottsdale Road, and I called my wife, and I was like, I just had this person that I've been doing deals with. His name is Vic. He just called Vic, and I hadn't heard from him in so long, and I was like, hey, dude, what's up, man? Like, how you been? Why haven't you sent me any deals? And he's like, oh, I've been selling them all to Pace. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, yeah, so like, I don't know what to do. She's like, well, he's given you lots of connections. I'm like, yeah, he's been amazing, and like I've made lots of money with them. I'm like, but this is the first time I'm losing, right? And so I'm like, I have to process this. I have to figure out how to overcome this survival, greed, lack, scarcity, the contraction, the ugly, that guy, because he was there, and he was saying, no, it's only me. Only you get to live. Only you get to eat. Only you get to survive. Only you. It's all you. It's all you. It's nobody else matters. Nobody else matters. It's only you. And it's like, no, that's not it. That's not it. And so when I understood that was a contracted, scarcity, very, 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 very lack-minded individual or lack mentality, then I had to make the decision to override that emotion, that base emotion of greed, that base emotion of loss, of lack. And I had to override it with a higher version of myself. And when I did that, and I chose the friendship over that, I chose the collaboration over that, that's when, for me, it exploded.
Wow.
Because I can remember making the choice. I can remember choosing to collaborate over compete.
So there are two important things. Earlier you mentioned how he kept coming back. He kept coming back. And it wasn't that initial, you gave him advice, he ignored it, he moved on, he ended up not having a horrible situation. I mean, as a result of that, he could have listened to you, but he came back and you continued that relationship with him. Where many of us would, no, he ignored my advice. Why would I want to do anything with him and move on? You discard people and you just move on because they don't listen to you. But you did not do that. You were open to that relationship.
Well, he's really fun, right?
Well, that's true.
He's not like an annoying guy to hang around with or anything like that. Like, I did enjoy my interactions with him. I thought he was a cool dude, right? And so there was that part too. So,
But you kept getting him second chances, additional chances.
yeah, and then I never even saw them as a chance. It didn't feel like, I'm going to give you this advice, and if you don't take it, then we're not friends. I never see my suggestions or my advice as ultimatums. It's just an opinion.
But that's a personality. See, that's where I'm going with this. Like,
Okay.
so many people think it a different way.
Sure.
They just see it as, well, I'm not going to bother with them because they didn't really care what I had to say, and I'm moving on.
Right.
Yeah, I said, yeah, I'm moving on. I'm done with them. But you didn't do that.
No.
You don't do that. You don't operate that way.
Correct.
And then now this other situation, now this relationship, how it's, grown from there. So I think that just is a testament to who you are as a person and who you've evolved and you've become.
Yeah, I've definitely evolved into this person. I'm not born this way, right? You create this, you curate this, you refine this. This comes from attention. It comes from understanding. It comes from perspective. And when you can take the biggest, a great friend of mine, Venus, said this to me once. When you're confronted with the problem or a situation in life, the largest perspective is always the answer. The largest perspective is always the answer. And so what does that mean? Right? What does it really mean to take the largest perspective? Okay, well, all right, but what about in a year? Is this going to matter? Okay, what about 5 years? Is this going to matter? What about 10 years? How important is this going to be? Right? Well, if it's not going to be important any of that time, then why is it important now? Right? And okay, there's one piece. Okay, well, here's another piece of a larger perspective. All right, so maybe this doesn't work out for me right now, but did it work out for somebody else? Yes. Okay, great. So there it is. But now if I take an even one step further, okay, now it didn't work out for you in this certain way. And if had it worked out for you, you would have ended up right here and maybe blocked right here. But because this didn't work out for you, you ended up going this way, which took you here. And so a lot of times what ends up happening is we see an obstacle or a no or a rejection as indication or evidence that we're on the wrong path, when that's not the case.
The obstacle is the way.
The obstacle is the way,
Yeah.
right? And so because we get that resistance, we're like, oh, I'm not supposed to do this. I'm not meant to do this, because it's testing you. How badly are you wanting to do this? How authentic is this dream, this desire of yours? And maybe it's not meant to happen right now. Maybe you got to keep chiseling away. Possibly your nervous system wouldn't have even been able to handle success in the first place, and you're just being molded into the version of you that can handle that blessing. We heard Pace say it today. He said the crown is heavy. Well, if I'm not doing the exercises to hold the weight, then I shouldn't even be handed the crown.
Yeah.
So sometimes we've got to take our time and hit the gym before we get to be in that position, right? But we all want to skip the steps. I want to wake up with a six-pack, right? While I'm drinking a six-pack.
Yeah.
Like, come on, dude. That's not how it works.
Yeah, I mean, the more I look into this whole thing of transformation, I do think it's definitely about moments of awakeness and awareness, but it's about persistence. It's about this, you get your eureka moment, or you slowly dawns on you that things got to change or things got to move, and then it's like, and here we go, right? One step in front of the other, from the other, and it's just like, you look at a match and you think, there's not a chance I can do that. Like, I'm going to be at this forever. And then you just say, shut up, head down, just walk. And an hour later, you're like, oh, wow, I made a good dent in that. But you just have to, if you keep selling at the bottom of the mountain and going on and on about it, you will never even make any inroads into it. And in fact, that relationship between persistence and authenticity, I think the opposite of plastic Jamil is authentic Jamil. There's no point climbing all the wall mountains because your plasticness is taking you to the crazy places. It's trying to find your authenticity, find your mountain, and then head down, just step it out. And it's wonderful observing somebody who has, I can see your journey. I can see that. I love the story of authenticity. I hadn't recognized how important it was, and to be told that story. Because you'd say plastic, you'd have had the mountains, but God knows where it would have led you.
Right? I mean, I definitely wouldn't be in this seat now.
No.
We wouldn't, none of us. You know, which is what a world that was created, right? Like, you know, and somebody thanked me this morning. Thanks for answering Basis DM.
Yeah.
You know, and to think that this whole world that we're all experiencing right now was a product of a DM answer. Yeah. What the hell? Yeah. Can you imagine?
I know.
And so, like, that's the thing, right? The biggest perspective is always the answer. And so I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that we've been able to trace it all back, to be able to unwind it all, to unpack it all, to look back and look at the moment where it all happens and say, thank you, God.
Yeah.
That was such a blessing.
And when did his plan start?
And when did the plan start, right? Because, like, you don't think that God saw all this, that God knew this was all going to happen, that all these successes that we've all had, all these transformations that we've had in these communities, if all of this blessing, that all this goodness was to come from this connection that I'm going to make between these two men that are going to come together in this time of grief.
Yeah.
For one of them, the biggest triumph of his life came from the hardest lesson that he had to endure. You know? And that's the lesson.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Jamil, for giving, as ever, of your heart and soul. We really appreciate it.
So appreciate it. You have no idea. Okay, this man, sometimes I'm sitting, I was dreading, honestly, coming this week. I really was. And I did tell Cordy, I said, you know, I really just want to shoot a message to Jamil and say, you know what, I'm not ready for this. I just want to sit down and kind of like process and to just get my mindset straight. But then, you know, I'm like, okay, no, I can do this. I got this. And it's not, you know, it's not that I think it's we have so much we're trying to get going, so much that we're trying to work on, and my mindset, I've been working on that, and I feel sometimes when I feel like I'm over here, it's that fear. You know, when you think that you're just about to break through, that fear jokes in, you're like, no, I'm not ready to do this, I can't do this, and you start to back up, you know? And so just hearing it, a lot of it goes to you have to push through the pain, you just have to do it, just do it. You know, get through the pain, the bigger the pain, the more worth it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Think about childbirth, you know?
Oh.
Right? It's like, the evidence is everywhere. It's always been under our nose. It's always been under our nose. And the thing that I've really come to learn is that it's really all for you.
Yeah. Yes.
It's all for you. Everything is all happening for you. It's like all of it in this magical orchestra of humanity and grace, and somehow we're all supported in the ways we all need to be supported, while we're all being.
I love this idea, reason for the wedding children covered, just what we got, Jamil, of this whole track of society, which, you know, everything up to your 401k, your everything is all lined up to, you know, just do this thing. And the confidence it takes to step out of that. And I believe where you are now, it's your wisdom that has brought you here, not society's wisdom that will tell you lots of other stuff. Your wisdom that's brought you here, and it's your own higher self that is saying, I have to put myself through this testing ground. Otherwise, I will never, but soul will not progress to its higher self. And it is kind of lonely, because you, and your jokes have become so into your word.
It's a fear of success, and that's a scary, that doesn't true that thing. We all, you know, what are you afraid of? Okay, if I'm successful, it's that imposter syndrome. If I make it, and then I make it here, they're going to look back and say, what is she doing over here? You know, she's that great. But then I feel like they see me as more than I am.
Always. And I want to also share this with you, or anyone else watching this right now, is that your heroes are feeling the same thing. You know, my heroes are feeling the same thing. Pace's heroes, I forgot to see that thing. You know, all of us have those moments of doubt. We all have those. None of us are perfect. None of us wake up every day and be like, I'm the man. You know, sometimes you wake up and you're like, my back hurts. Oh, why did I drink so much last night? Whatever it is, you know, we all wake up with a thing. We all wake up sometimes on the wrong side of where we need to be. But that's the beauty of this life. We get to start over. We get to make every day new. And if you're going through it right now, and you know, there's something, it's all good. You can take a few deep breaths and say, let's hit reset.
Yeah.
And away you go.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. I appreciated the conversation. Good luck with the rest of the podcast. You guys are going to kill it.
All right, well, that's a wrap for today's episode. Our very first episode, our first guest was Jamil Damji. We hope that you enjoyed it. We would like to keep providing wonderful content for you. So in order for you to see that, you need to subscribe. So make sure you give us a like and subscribe below.
And anybody you'd like to see us interview, just let us know, and we'll do our best to go out and get them.